Splendid. Splendid. Now, let's see.
What's going on, everybody? I know I did a build on the quote-unquote perfect starting special stats, and that basically just covered things to look for depending on how you wanted to play the game. Were you going to use VATS all the time? Were you just going to run around aiming down the sights, which I prefer because the shooting mechanics in this game are great? Or are you going to run around in heavy armor with a big minigun? Depends on what you want to do. If I were to be asked what I consider the perfect starting build as far as max survivability, putting out the maximum amount of damage, being able to sneak, being able to do all the stuff, I can go single shot, I can go full auto, I can use a rifle, I can use a pistol, I would strongly suggest the 10mm pistol. The basic 10mm with this build. Once you get a suppressor on that and you start factoring in Mr. Sandman and your ninja perks and stuff like that, you're going to dish out as much, if not more pain than you would with any other class, including snipers. You are going to be melting stuff. And if you can find legendary upgrades to your pistol, such as Instigating for a single shot, or Wounding for a full auto, then you're just going to town on everybody, everything, regardless of the difficulty you're playing on. And you have a lot of survivability. Notice the really, really high endurance here that we start with. Now, when I get Sean's book, I put my extra point into luck, and so this is what my starting special stats look like. We have a 2 strength, which will eventually unlock the armor perk. You may need that. You might want some upgrades at like tier 4, like sleek, or weighted if you plan on doing some melee. Notice your melee is unlocked at a strength of 2 right off the top, if that's how you want to roll. And then start with a 4 perception. So at 5, we can unlock explosives, which play a huge part in the way I like to play. If you don't care about explosives and you don't care about lockpicking, pull those points out of perception, throw them in something else. That's what I would say. Notice your endurance is really, really high. Your charisma and intelligence, starting those at 2 so you can unlock Lone Wanderer, which is a huge damage buff when you go to travel by yourself, especially once you get Preston's perk and Deacon's perk under your belt. And then intelligence, a 3 intelligence unlocks Gun Nut. You want anything higher than that, like Scrapper and stuff like that, you're going to have to pull points out of endurance. I don't bother. I don't need it. If all you're dealing with is a 10mm and that's it, all your other ammo is your money. 5mm ammo, 308, 50 cal, 44, 45, all that stuff. That's just free money. Fusion cores. With this build, I run around in basic light armor. You could probably get away with a simple ballistic weave and any kind of set of clothing and look like you really belong in the wasteland if that's how you want to play. 9 endurance, and once you get the bobblehead, 10 endurance, that's a lot of hit points. Especially once you start beefing up around level 20 up, you'll be doing fine. That's what I've found. I've made it through the game with 1 endurance on very hard in survival and had few problems. Every once in a while you run into some, pretty nasty enemies. Group of super mutants here or there that tend to be a little overpowered, that tend to get a huge damage buff or something like that on you. But other than that, not really any issues. So with a 9 endurance, 10 endurance, should be doing just fine. Okay, now agility is your primary tree here. Ninja, Mr. Sandman, Sneak. Notice we're level 16 here. I think I stopped this right around level 22. At level 23, you get the 4th perk of Sneak, and I never bother with the 5th one. The 4th one basically makes you undetectable when you're moving, walking or running. It's silent running, basically. And notice here, Swan, and I think at this time we're, level 17, I think. Something like that. Anyway, and this is with no legendary stats on the pistol, a lot of damage upgrades that we haven't gotten yet, and so on and so forth, and just takes one down like really, really quick. Not like that's any real big deal, but just want to show that even early on, your damage is high. Basically, the key to this build is, especially once you get a suppressor, but really just from the start. With the 10mm, that's your basic weapon in the game, and you can go with that forever. You can make it full auto if you want, keep it single shot. Switch weapons if you need to, like if you want to run with a submachine gun, a pipe gun, whatever. You can do all that too. I would say once you get a suppressor, you could even snipe with this. If you want to run around with a sniper rifle. If you're really heavily into VATS, I would suggest a different kind of build for that. I actually have a sniper build video that I thought was really, really powerful. Maximized all the damage buffs you can get for a sniper. I can leave a link for that. But with this, I think you'll find you can even snipe with this little tactical sight on your 10mm. The thing is really, really accurate, even at really long range. The damage is through the roof. You stay almost undetectable. You have ridiculous mobility. You have great survivability. Like I say, you can go full auto, go single shot like this. If you're single shot, I would look for an Instigating upgrade on your pistol. If you switch some points around and you go with VATS, then you might want the double critical, 25% less action points and VATS and all that other stuff. But I like aiming down the sights. I think the shooting mechanics in this game are amazing. Notice here we are level 22. This is where I cut it off. Usually my soft cap is around 50, but this build is already so strong. Other than stupid accidents, we really haven't even died here in this playthrough. We were streaming most of this, and I finally said, you know what, I don't have to go any further. You guys, if you start like this and run with just a 10mm, once you get that suppressor, and make sure you put your points and all your damage perks, Mr. Sandman, Ninja, once you get Lone Wanderer unlocked, go ahead and get your 3rd rank in that. If you have the DLC, get the 4th rank, although I think that's extra VATS points, which you probably won't need, or action points or whatever, but that is good for sprinting. But at higher levels, I don't think you'll find an issue with that either. You'll have plenty of AP to get around, stay mobile in case you really do get into trouble. Rapid reload, you'll eventually unlock Blitz with your agility bobblehead, and you're good to go. Luck is going to give you Bloody Mess. That's another, 15% damage. Also, you do some AoE if you take all 4 perks in that, and you're set. So this really takes advantage of all the damage perks, takes advantage of all your sneak attacks. You'll lay out just ridiculous amounts of damage with a basic 10mm. You'll surprise yourself when you 1 or 2 shot really, really high level like Death Claws and things like that, especially if you're hitting headshots at, you're going to need to be higher level. You're going to need to get all your damage buffs, but this thing becomes a beast. And I don't even have a legendary attachment here. If you're going full auto, I'd strongly recommend a wounding 10mm pistol, which does stacked bleeding damage. And that thing, you'll see it melt enemies. You'll see like legendary super mutant overlords or masters or something like that. Just with a couple bursts, you'll see their health bars just drain, just disappear for you. It's absolutely amazing. And that goes for any other automatic weapon you use as well. Wounding is probably my favorite on that. If you go explosive, just be really, really careful, because if you get close to your target, you'll blow yourself up as well, especially once your explosive skill is high, because the AoE gets bigger and becomes much, much stronger. Explosives are almost as overpowered as melee are in this game. I like using them situationally, especially against mobs, especially when I'm running around by myself. Run into a bunch of raider survivalists, a nice grenade or two to soften them up is great for me. So I keep frags, keep a few Molotovs on hand. They're free, you find them everywhere. But here's a Death Claw. What are we, level 23? And there you go. It's a basic pistol. Don't have my damage upgrades. Maybe not real impressive here, but later on in the game, those perks start stacking. Get Preston's perk, get Deacon's perk, and you're going to be doing nasty sneak damage. Anyway, this is what I would call my perfect build. All right, so give this a run, give it a try, and I think you'll find that this will be the easiest time you have playing through Fallout 4, regardless of what difficulty you play on. Just a 10mm and just run with it. All right, thanks for watching. It's really cool, y'all, and I will see you on the next one. Remember to like and subscribe.